Welcome to Books I Make My Husband Read, a self-described hilarious and heartfelt podcast where I, Kristy, the devoted book lover, curate an unexpected reading list for my husband, John.
And that's me. In each episode, we dive into lively discussions, humorous debates, and unexpected insights on all the books Kristy just has to make me read.
We're here to explore everything from your book club favorites to quirky hidden gems, challenging our perspectives and inviting you to join in on the fun.
So, settle in, grab your favorite beverage, and get ready for another literary adventure.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 1 of Books I Make My Husband Read. I'm your host, Kristy.
And I'm John. I'm the co-host, the one that Kristy forces to read all of the books.
Forces is such a strong word.
Sometimes it's what it feels like. Read this.
It does not.
I know.
Oh.
Oh my God. So sensitive.
Read this or else.
Read this or else.
Well, speaking
Tina,
of reading
eat your
books,
ham.
Tina, come get your ham. Well, back to our regularly scheduled program. I cannot believe we're on Season 4. You probably can't either since you've had to read all these books and keep up.
I know. I really can't. I've lost track of the numbers. It's just like, what day is it? What book is it? What episode is this?
Season 4, Episode 1. Did you not
Oh,
listen?
yeah, right. No, yeah. Got it. Thanks.
Well, if you caught our Season 3 recap, then you will know that Season 4 actually has a theme. So this season, we are going to be reading 7 books that have been developed into films. And that includes some new releases, and that includes some classics as well. And so to kick things off this season, today we'll be discussing The Housemaid by Freida McFadden, a story about a desperate young woman who takes a live-in job with a wealthy family, only to realize the picture-perfect home she stepped into is full of secrets, manipulation, and danger that she never saw coming.
So this one for me kind of made me appreciate Freida's writing a little bit more. Because the last couple, well, you've had me read a couple of hers now.
Yes.
And 2. The Boyfriend was decent. I enjoyed it. I like thrillers. Yeah. I like that one. The Crash was terrible. And this one was good.
Terrible. We had a great conversation actually about
the fact that we had a great conversation doesn't mean that the book was good or not good. Like, I just did not think that book was good. So anyways, we did have a good conversation. That made for a great episode. A lot of great banter. But this one like re-elevated Freida in my mind's eye. So nice pick.
So this idea came about because I have been waiting for you to read The Housemaid, which is my favorite Freida McFadden book. And I knew there was a film adaptation coming out. So I was kind of waiting for the film to come out so that we could read the book together, talk about it here, and then watch the film together also. I'm also personally, I've had Project Hail Mary on my list for a while now, but I love when a book is adapted to a film. So I had been personally waiting that because I kind of wanted to wait to see, not have a gap between reading the book and then seeing the film. I will always read the book first. And so I thought I wanted to do both those books on the podcast. But again, I wanted to wait for the film. So I had this idea that, hey, why don't we just do all books that have had film adaptation? So what we'll be doing this season is reading the book and watching the film, and we're going to talk about them both. So just be warned that we will give you our normal, here's the spoilers, but then we'll give you another one if you've read the book, but maybe you haven't seen the film yet and you don't want spoilers, because we will be talking about the films as well.
Yeah. So we're film critics now too?
Oh, we're all critics. I'm judgy as fuck.
Yeah, no argument from this guy.
All right. So why did I pick The Housemaid for John? Well, again, it's my favorite Freida book. There is just so much going on here. There are scenes that I don't care. I will never leave my brain. And we're going to talk about those. Just like some of the creepy things that happen. I think it's her best writing. There's things in the book that I did not see coming, and it's twisty. It's like this psychological thriller, which I know you like. And I just wanted to keep turning the pages. It's just like You could read this in one setting.
Yeah, and I felt very similar to that as far as, like, turning the pages. The chapters were short, everything was just, like, on and on and on. So,
Yeah.
great pick, love the genre, and as I mentioned, like, definitely re-elevated Freida in my author rank, um, based on the last one. So, before we get into the depth of our conversation and before we inaugurate our film
Hats.
criticisms hats for this themed season, we wanted to let everybody know what books Kristy's going to make me read next, and subsequently what movies we'll watch along with them. So, the next two are Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption by Stephen King, which is, yes, the movie that you're thinking of. The full title is Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, even though the movie is titled just Shawshank Redemption. And after that is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. So another Emily Henry book
Yes.
slash movie.
Most people don't even know that Shawshank is a book. And it came out many, many years ago. This is and I'm sure we'll talk about this day of, but this is the book that when people say the film is or the book is always better, I'm like, Shawshank is better than the book. And not because the book is bad, but Shawshank is just such a great movie with two really wonderful actors who fill the role well. And it's also a short novella, so you get actually more in the movie than you do in the book, which sometimes does not transition well, i.e., The
Yeah.
Hobbit. But in this case, I think it's actually done really, really well. Obviously, it won a ton of Oscars. And then,
Indeed.
yeah, this Emily Henry book is a few years old. I know we've done a couple others as well, but it just came out, I think, this week when we're recording this week on film, and I want you to catch up because I'm so excited to read it.
Read it or go see it.
It's on Netflix. It's a
Oh,
Netflix
yeah.
movie,
So to
so
see it. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yep. I'm so excited for you to read it so then
So
we
we
could.
can see it.
Yes,
Watch
you
it.
got it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Tracking.
Yes. But we did want to remind listeners before we get into our discussion that you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And if you're enjoying the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you happen to be listening.
Alrighty then. I guess this is the part of the episode where we get into that spoiler-free book summary so people have an idea of what we're talking about.
Yeah, let's do it. Millie is desperate for a fresh start when she lands a job as a live-in housemaid for the wealthy Winchester family. The position seems perfect. A steady paycheck, a place to live, and a chance to rebuild her life after a difficult past. All she has to do is cook, clean, and help care for their young daughter while staying in the small attic bedroom provided for her.
But almost immediately, Millie realizes that working for the Winchesters isn't going to be simple. Nina Winchester, elegant, beautiful, highly unpredictable, swings between kindness and cruelty as easily as a blink of an eye, leaving Millie constantly on edge. Nina's husband, Andrew, seems exhausted and quietly resigned, hinting that life inside their picture-perfect home may be far more fragile than it appears.
As the tension in the household builds, Millie begins to sense that the Winchesters are keeping secrets and that she may be more entangled in them than she ever expected. The house itself starts to feel isolating and claustrophobic, especially when Millie discovers unsettling details about the way things are run.
Caught between gratitude for the job and growing unease, Millie tries to keep her head down and survive each day. But the longer she stays, the more she realizes that nothing in this home, including her employers, her role, and even her own past, is as straightforward as it first seems. Dun, dun, dun. The tension builds. All right, listeners, you know the drill. This is where we start to spill all the beans and the spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, go grab the key, lock yourself upstairs in the attic, and we'll let you know when you can come back down.
All right, so before we dive into these questions, something that we did in, I think, season 1, at least partly in season 2, is I gave a little spoiler summary following our non-spoiler summary. So I'm going to do that real quick just for anyone who's listening who maybe hasn't read the book in a while or doesn't care to read the book, but you're listening. We appreciate you. And here you go. All right, so once Millie starts working for the Winchesters, it really seems like Nina is the problem. She's volatile, demanding, and honestly exhausting, while Andrew comes across as quiet and gentle and very hot. Millie starts to trust him, which makes sense because from the outside, Nina looks like the unstable one, and Freida does what Freida does. She flips the table on you. We learn that Andrew has been gaslighting and controlling Nina for years, even having her institutionalized so no one would believe her. Suddenly, Nina's behavior makes sense, and Andrew, who seemed kind and fragile, reveals himself to be the real threat, calculating, violent, and far more dangerous than Millie ever imagined. The twist, though, is that Millie is not the easy target that Andrew assumed.
She ain't no dumb blonde.
No. She has a dark past and razor sharp survival instincts, and instead of falling into his trap, Andrew realizes he's underestimated the wrong woman, which most men do, let's be real.
That's just what? What? Let's know. Well,
Are you defending your gender right now?
I don't know what I'm doing.
All right, let's talk about what we rated the book.
Good idea.
You go first.
Good segue.
I
go first?
Yeah, I checked episode 7 of the end of last season, and you're up, buddy.
Oh, all right then. What did I think of this book? Well, I definitely think it was the best Freida book that I've read to date. So the characters, the way that the story is told from like part 1 to part 2 to part 3 is also just a really well crafted narrative. I thought part 1, my feelings were just like, oh my God, Nina's
You kept saying, I hate this person. She's horrible.
She's horrible.
And I was like, where are you in the book? Where are you in the book?
And then I told you I finished, it was later at night. So the next morning I finished part 1 and you're like, did you turn the page in part 2? I was like, no, because as soon as I did, then I realized, oh, we're getting Nina's backstory now. Okay.
I actually couldn't remember because some of Freida's books are like dual narration throughout, like back and forth or kind of back and forth. And this one specific like segments.
Yeah.
And or like part 1, part 2, I guess. And I wanted to ask you at a couple points, like, did you get to the Nina chapters yet? Did you get to the Nina chapters yet? When you kept saying that, I'm like, no.
And I wouldn't have known what you meant until I did.
Well, I didn't want to spoil it because I would have probably keyed you that, okay, maybe I'm not going to hate this person. And I think you really have to experience like, oh, shit.
Yes, totally. And we'll get to that in our film critique as well. So I won't go too deep on that. But yeah, the first part of that book, I was like, this woman is awful. I couldn't understand how Millie could stay there after like 2 or 3 episodes of Nina. I'm like, peace out. This is not worth it. And you had like, yeah, I won't go for much further than that. I know we'll get to the questions, but in general, I thoroughly enjoyed the book. The characters kind of drove you mad, but in like that really sort of rewarding way of like you wanted to keep learning. It was like train wreck. It was a giant train wreck that you just like couldn't look away from.
As I've already said, my favorite Freida book. So something that we did recently is, stick with me for a second here. We did recently is re-listen to some of our early episodes, and you called me out that I say a lot, that I read it, and then I read it again preparing.
The second time I read it.
Basically saying I'm pretentious because I have called out that I've read it twice. Well, here's a spoiler.
I'm such a book person. I
am pretentious. Let's be real. I don't think that's a secret. But I felt it's important to say, and I'm still going to say it. I don't care what the fuck you say. Because
that checks.
Because I think you experience a book different when you reread it. You pick up new things or more nuance. When you know where a story is going, like you pick up on those things. So
absolutely.
Did you
reread this one?
I reread this one because it had been a few years since I read it initially. So that's fair. I wanted to do my due diligence when we have these episodes because let's be real, I read a lot of books. The minute I set it down, most of it's out of my mind. Not this book. I still freaking think about that attic scene where she's pulling her hair out. I'm not kidding you. All the fucking time. It
It's
lives rent
rough.
free in my brain
And
because I think that's so sadistic, which we'll get to, but I don't
yeah.
wanna say any more right now, I wanna get to it, but
Okay, fine.
I freaking love this book. It was a wild ride. If you have never read a Freida book, this is the one you should pick up. You can absolutely read book 2 in the Housemaid series. I think it's almost as good as the first one, but I just think you can't replace, like, that first feeling. 3, don't. Just don't. Alright, let's jump into the questions if you're good with that.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So for these first questions, I just want to talk about the book. I don't want to talk about the film because I do want to give a clear spoiler to any listeners so we don't ruin the film for them if they haven't seen it and they plan to. So, and we do have questions later about the film, but first question. So Millie walks into an environment that is clearly toxic very quickly. And you already mentioned like you would have left. So why do you think Millie stays?
I think it's important to understand the desperation in Millie's motivations, having just gotten out of prison. We don't really learn what for until later on in the book. But you do get a sense that she's been rejected by jobs, she's been fired by jobs, she's left jobs that she doesn't like, and so
She's
she
living in her
just
car.
and winds up living in her car. Right, been evicted, I think. So I you kind of have to hold on to that desperation. I think with that, and then you see like the lavish lifestyle, and she was getting paid very well for a housemaid, or it was implied that she was getting paid very well. And so I think that was the motivation to stay. Also, she starts to catch feelings about, Andrew, which can also lead to be like, it's not so bad. I'll hang out here for a little bit and see how this pans out. So
Yeah.
that's what I think. I mean, I obviously can't understand that kind of desperation, that kind of position that she was in because just no. It just seems too crazy to be like, you know what? My car actually sounds pretty good right now. I
Yeah.
don't need this in my life. But that's just me.
I'm not criticizing you, but I think that's easy to say when you don't have the desperation Millie has, which I think Freida does a really good job of laying out for the reader all the things that you're saying. She didn't have job prospects. She was living in her car. She just got out of prison. And again, we don't find out why. But I think for Millie, the reason she stays is because this is not as bad as prison. Like, I think bottom line is like, yeah, there's this crazy person and she's creating chaos for me, but guess what? I'm free. I don't have to be here. I can be here and it seems crazy, but I can leave at any time. So she thinks.
So she thinks that's true. That's a great point. It's not prison. That's a great perspective. It's like, I do have the freedom to leave, which she didn't really have before. So yeah,
Yeah.
good point.
But I guess as a follow up though, at what point do you, if you're Millie, do you consider quitting your job?
I mean, I think we've already established that it would have been pretty early for me to
No, if you're
have a
Millie
point to like,
though. Like,
oh,
do
if
you
I'm
think there's
Millie.
a thing if you're Millie, or is she just like, whatever, as long as they don't lock me in my room and throw away the key, this is not as bad as like being in prison and living in my car.
Yeah, that's probably her bar. Yeah. Unless
Right.
she
And,
like
and that's,
feels physically threatened or whatever, which, ultimately she does. Yeah, you're right. It's like, you know what? She is fucking crazy, but I'm, yeah, I'm free and I'm making
yeah.
money and I can check in with my parole officer. I'm going to save to get my own place and blah, 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 or whatever. So, yeah, I get it. Kind of.
So much of this book is about control, emotional, financial, and physical. Who actually holds the power in the story?
Oh, man. I feel like my answer might change based on what part of the book I'm in. I feel like if I'm reading part one, I'm thinking that, like, okay, Andrew feels a little kind of in control, or maybe I don't, I don't know. This is a tough question. But the way I think I would answer it, I right now would be, I feel like Nina, oddly enough, has the control only after you learn after from part two how she's manipulating Millie and the conversations she has with Enzo, and that this is all a plan and this is all a strategy for her to be able to get out of the house with her daughter. So I think I would answer that with Nina.
Yeah. I think your first instinct that depending on where you are in the book, your answer changes. But I actually thought of this as kind of circular, and why we have this dynamic between the characters is I feel like Andrew has physical control over Nina. Nina has financial control over Millie
Millie.
because Millie needs the or wants the job. She wants to make this money.
Yeah.
Millie has emotional control in a way over Andrew because remember when Nina says like Andrew like needs that like validation and
Validation.
from like women and things like that. So I think Nina has not filled that for him in a while. So now Millie is like filling that bucket for him, which obviously transitions as we get later in the story. But I kind of thought about it that way. I mean, because after I wrote the question, I was like, how am I going to answer this question?
Yeah. That checks. I think you just said it more eloquently than me, that it kind of depended on where it was in the book, that I think I would probably have a different answer. But yeah, each person kind of has a different kind of control over another character in the book. I think that's a great way to answer that.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about this already, but how did your feelings toward Nina shift over the course of the book?
Oh man, that first part of the book, I was just like,
This is the
I don't even
worst
I don't
woman
even have the
ever.
word. Yeah, just like how do you flip a switch? Like clearly manic. I shouldn't say clearly, but it was like a manic bipolar type change of 1 second. You're the best, Millie. We're so lucky to have you here. And then throwing cartons of milk and wondering where the fuck her notes are about a PTA meeting that she just reprint off from her computer.
Yeah.
Just mind boggling kind of stuff. Or the clothes, or like giving her the clothes and then saying, you stole those from me. I never gave those to you. Or when she has her posh PTA meeting or whatever it is and asking Millie to like stand in the background, but then being like, what are you doing? You don't belong here. Like, pish, pish, move on, or whatever it is she says.
Pish,
Pish,
pish.
pish, pish. Because that's how posh women talk in my head. So yeah, it was like nails on a chalkboard through that whole first part of the book. But it wasn't until part two I was like, oh.
At no point though in the first, again, I agree with you that she's horrible, but at no point when they talk about like the medication she's on and we're hearing from, I mean, it's like through the
Lens
Lindsay's
of Millie.
through Millie's lens
Yeah.
that we get some of the narrative from Andrew, but at no point did you think, oh, she's like schizophrenic or bipolar, or did you have no empathy for her at all that maybe there was actually medical? Because we also hear she's institutionalized. We don't know why yet, but did
Yeah.
you have no empathy at all for her?
I mean, sure.
That string was
Okay,
very short,
wait,
though.
it was very short. But also, okay, here's what you're doing to me by making me read all these books. You're changing the way my brain is enjoying these stories now, because now I'm like
searching.
searching.
It's
I'm like,
actually annoying, isn't it?
It is super
It's
annoying. I
so
don't
fucking
like it.
annoying. Like,
because I'm like, Andrew's being too nice. So he's not as nice as he seems. This is just too much. And then I'm like, knowing the characters, and I also said to you, it spoiled it a little for me that the movie came out before I read it, because I'm like, it's only the two women that are in all the interviews for this movie. Like, he's not anywhere in any of like the promotional stuff. It's all just Amanda and Sydney. And so I'm like, okay, there's got to be something there. So now I'm like trying to piece that into what I'm reading. Yeah, you've ruined books for me. You've ruined them.
I think what you meant to say is that I have made you a more careful reader. That's what I heard.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
It is annoying. I actually just finished reading a book yesterday, and I had this thought to myself. I'm like, I don't know what is going on. There's actually, I have so many thoughts that I just cannot, it was another thriller. I cannot piece it together, and I'm not even going to try. I'm just enjoying the ride.
Whoa, it's so much more fun.
Well, sometimes I like figuring things out though. Like that
I
to
know you
me,
do.
I love puzzles. So,
Yeah, that is a you thing.
all right. So if you were Nina, how do you think you might have handled the situation differently? Or do
If
you,
I was Nina, how would I have handled Andrew differently?
yeah, like do you actually feel like all the way it seems like an impossible situation and the things she brings up about he could have her institutionalized, he already has. He's turned her like family or sorry, friend circle against her and he's put things in motion that will happen if something happens to him or whatever. Like he has this like these things hanging over her that he is controlling her with. So was there anything that you thought of like, oh, she could have done this, or you think you would have just rolled the dice and like, peace out, Billy?
I don't know. I think I would have felt really trapped if I was Nina. I
Yeah.
think he spun such a deep and complicated web. I just don't know. I mean, the fact that she tried like her first attempt with Enzo to hide and stash money and fake IDs in a locker,
Who
like
knows?
totally
Yeah.
off prem somewhere totally else, and he still found that. And he had, they alluded to him having friends in powerful places, like friends with like the chief of police or captain or something like that. And
Yeah.
so, no, I would have felt entirely trapped in that. I don't know how I would have tried to escape. I would have gone mad too.
So the only thing I thought of that she maybe could have done, because she does blackmail the gynecologist that gives her, or fertility
Oh yeah,
specialist,
the
whatever,
fertility specialist.
that
Yeah,
puts her IUD in.
yeah,
And I was like, okay, well, every time he locks her up and she has like crazy stuff happen to her body, because like one time she has to spray herself with pepper
pepper
spray
spray.
and like all these crazy things. I'm imagine there are signs of that. I thought of,
Yeah,
well, maybe she could go to the doctor under the guise of like the fertility, take a bunch of photos, or have Enzo meet her there, take a bunch of photos, like documentation of it, and then like save those.
maybe.
That was the only thing I could think of, like, or she could even do it at home, like, if he's not there, like, document everything you can on video, on, like, film, and then, like, give that to Enzo and have him do something with it, like,
Yeah, I just really think there would be no confidence, and the fear of him finding that would outweigh, and the risk of him finding that kind of stuff, I think would outweigh
I mean,
doing it.
she's already in a horrible like, the things he does to her, I mean,
Yeah, it's unfathomable.
it's like torture. It's
It's
torture.
torture.
It's
Yeah, it's definitely
torture. So, like,
mental and
really,
physically.
how much worse could it have gotten?
I bet he has an answer for that.
Probably. All right, so good transition. Which scene in the book was the most memorable for you?
Oh, man, there's so many awful scenes. I think for Nina was probably the pepper spray. I
Mm.
just couldn't.
Pull it, pull the
No,
trigger. I
no.
know.
I'm like, and have to keep my eyes open because he's watching. He's like, can't close your eyes. Like your eyes have to be open. I'm like, I don't think I could do it. And then if my eyes closed and knowing the pain and have to do it again, no. So
Was
that
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 one
one
she
for
had to do
me,
twice?
I don't know if it was or
Oh,
not. I'm
okay.
just saying like
Yeah.
very
I know.
plausible
Awful.
that
Oh,
yeah.
either way.
Because he made her to pull the hair thing out, more than once too,
Oh,
which
yeah.
you'll get to. So, but I mean, Nina aside, I think the most awful would be like having to pull my teeth. I
Yeah, that's
don't think
pretty
with a fucking pliers. Like, no, sorry, that's not going to happen, Millie.
awful. Awful.
Awful. You've already alluded to which one is stuck in your brain forever and ever.
I mean, the hair one is just
It's death by a thousand cuts. Like
it
that's how I think of that
I
one.
just like my scalp hurts thinking
Yeah.
about it. And then doing 100 and then doing it again. Oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
and it's not even the physical, it is a physical pain, but it's not even the physical pain. It's the Oh my god, like, just the sadistic nature of it, I just, like, can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah. It seems so simple on the
Yeah.
surface. Like, oh, it's just a couple of hairs.
It's not just a
But
couple, it's
it's not
100.
it's 100, I know, but, like, I mean, I remember reading that and thinking, "I can barely handle it when you pluck a couple of my
I
eyebrows." I'm like, "There's no
right,
fucking way I could
right.
handle that multiple times over." Yeah, it was brutal.
I mean, I have really long hair, so I was thinking, like, is it easier or better than having short hair? But at the end of the day, like, he wants the
Root.
follicles right
Yeah,
on the hair. So you have to pull it
from
from,
the
like,
root.
yeah, from close to the root. Otherwise, you're not going to get it.
Ugh,
I know.
terrible.
Awful. So when you finished the book, what was your immediate reaction? Shock, satisfaction, or frustration?
What I'm about to say, I'm gonna take with, like, an asterisk because I actually felt a little bit that Andrew's demise was a little, like, anticlimactic. And I mean that, like, all of these terrible things, she gets him in the room once, and then he's like and then he's dead.
Yeah.
And then he's just dead. And we'll get to this. The movie played out a little bit differently, and we'll get to that. But so I wouldn't say I was shocked by that ending.
I didn't care that he died. That, like, didn't seem anticlimactic to me because I
I just
think
thought there'd be more struggle with it. And he was just
oh, well, I
like,
mean, it was I don't think there was more struggle because, like, it's clear that from, I think, the rest of the narrative that you can't once you're in that room, the only way to get out is if someone lets you out, and
yeah.
she never let him out.
Yeah.
But the kicker for me is the mom.
Oh,
Like, the
yeah.
mom basically knew what happened and was like, "That's what you get for not taking care of your teeth."
Yeah, that was pretty that's pretty fucked up
So fucked up.
at his funeral.
I know.
But, you say that, and then I did have thoughts through the book, though, because, again, you ruined reading for me, that when the mom was introduced, I'm like, because she would, like, go up to him and not give him a kiss on the cheek, but, like, straighten his tie or something or
Yeah.
whatever, and I'm like, "Okay, she
Obsessed with
clearly has a
appearance
similar,
and yeah, same as him.
type as him, and so there's gotta be, like he's getting it from her." Obviously, I didn't know to what level of detail, but she did something that he's, like, carrying out on now on these women.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to transition to talking about the film. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want spoilers, you should pause here. All right, just give me your first reactions to the film. Did it feel like the same story as the book?
I felt like it was trying to force the book into a screenplay
Yeah.
and not taking in and forgetting to take into account that it was a movie,
That it's film.
that it's
Yeah.
film.
And
It
it can
just
be the same.
yeah, it just missed on so many of the parts. And I know we've talked about this. One of the hardest parts about film adaptations is like in books you get so much inner dialogue and you get so
Yeah.
much mental narration that you can't just make every movie have a voiceover narrator. Otherwise, they would all be boring. And I just don't think the way that the filmmakers took this worked. Like I
Yeah.
just felt no connection. I felt no empathy for these characters from watching the film. And I was like, it just jumped right into stuff. And I'm like, I have no relation with this. Like I don't understand. Yeah. So I think that was probably my biggest nuance and like overall point of view of the movie versus the book.
Yeah. People really like this film, and I just don't understand it. I get
Mm,
it maybe if you didn't read the book, and I can never unknow
yeah.
reading the book and go into it with that, so I have no idea that's like, but I didn't like it. I don't wanna say I didn't like it at all, but I just don't think it did the book justice. I think exactly what you're saying. There were so many moments where it was like, "Oh, this is a line from the book, we have to fit this in." Or
Yeah.
this is like a specific tiny detail in the book that we have to fit in, and it made no sense to actually the storyline
Yeah.
because it is a little different, and it just felt like these forced scenes, like they didn't it just didn't flow. Look, I think Amanda Siegfried is amazing. I think Sydney Sweeney is amazing. I didn't love either of them in this film, and I know a lot of people loved Amanda as Nina, and I thought actually it's not like I thought the casting was bad by any means. I think they're great actresses, but I don't know, it felt so forced to me, and
So to me, performances like that come down to directing. And it
mm,
reminded me a little bit of like episodes 1, 2, and 3 of the Star Wars movies when that George Lucas directed. Like everything just
mm,
felt like hit your mark, say your line, hit your mark, say
yeah.
your line. And
Yeah, that's
it
actually
just
really good,
didn't
yeah.
feel like a narrate like or a smooth narration or like a realistic dialogue between people. It just was like hit your line, say your line. And there's nothing like that's not on the actors. Like I feel like the actors did probably the best they could, but I feel like that kind of performance is on directing.
Yeah. So let's talk about our villain. Do you feel like Andrew read differently on screen, more vulnerable, more sinister, or about the same that you expected from the book?
I didn't really feel any sinisterism. Is that a word?
It is now.
I just
Sinisterisms and
sinisterism from him again, it's just kind of the same thing. It's like, I didn't build up any kind of relationship from him. I felt more empathy for him actually through having to deal with Nina than I did like because we don't really get any of Nina's backstory to create empathy for her and what she has gone through in order to create hatred for him. And so you're just kind of left with this guy who has a hard life with his wife, has an affair, and then like you get a little bit of it, but I don't know. There just wasn't enough. There just wasn't enough for me to be like, "Ooh, this guy's bad."
yeah.
And again, I think it comes down to like you don't get enough of that inner dialogue and explanation of all of the things that he's actually done or like the psychological torture that he's committed on Nina. So my answer to that would be less sinister than he read in the book. And yeah,
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Also feel like in the book, you develop an empathy for him as you're seeing the Millie chapters in part one unfold. And you're like, oh my gosh, he's like standing by her. She seems to have these like some mental illness problems or mental health problems. And she was institutionalized, and this kid isn't even biologically his, but he's
yeah,
raising it. And we see these stories about that, and I think you develop empathy for him, and then when he turns out to be a total crazy person and a villain, it's like, "Oh, shit." And that did not at all, to me, translate.
translate.
So, I said this to you, but I wanted to compare it to, and you said you haven't seen this, but there was a film in the '90s called Fear with Mark Wahlberg, where he comes to like, he seems like a perfectly there are, like, maybe some weird things, but he's all from all intents and purposes, you're like, "Okay, this guy's kind of, like, trying to be a good boyfriend." But he comes to the door and he's like, "Let me in the fucking door." And you, like I felt like
There's
that,
like a
like, "Oh my."
visceral reaction.
Yes, a
Yeah.
visceral reaction, like, "Oh my gosh, that would be horrifying." And I felt that in the book with Andrew, and then on the screen, I'm like, "No.
Yeah.
You're
It's
just
not the same.
acting angry. You're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
acting angry
Yeah.
because
Agreed.
that's what you're supposed to act."
Yeah. And again, I think that's directing. I
Yeah.
really do. So
What do you think were the biggest changes from the book to the film?
the ending, how he dies.
Is that it? Was that the only
Oh,
the biggest
no, like
changes?
you were. It's looked like you were processing like
Well,
either. I
I
couldn't
have
tell
a
if you wanted
follow-up
to say
question.
something. Yeah.
I have a
Okay.
follow-up. I guess the full question is biggest changes, and do you feel like whatever those were, do you feel like they helped the story or weakened the story?
Mm. Okay, I'll stick with my initial answer and say I think it's the ending that was the biggest pivot from the book. He doesn't die from starvation or just being locked in that room or bled out or whatever it wound up being from pulling his teeth out. But but Nina comes back thinking Millie's locked up there and winds up unlocking the door, which lets him out, which turns into a whole like chase scene, which made
Which
for better
that does
TV.
happen in the book. She thinks that Millie's in there and she unlocks it, but Andrew's dead.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that makes for the whole like chase scene. And I think that was like a way for the filmmakers to try to communicate how crazy he really was in like a cliche kind of way. And then he dies falling, getting pushed down the stairs or pushed over the railing, which
I knew that was going to
I knew that was going to
happen
happen
right
too.
away
Like,
because they talked about it. I know. I
well,
was
and
like,
she looks
well,
up in the film when
yeah,
she's doing the tour of the home, that she stops in the middle of the stairway and looks
yep,
straight up. I'm like, oh, that's going to come into
yeah,
play.
yeah.
What are these things? Why did you make my brain like this?
I know,
I
right?
just want to watch the movie.
It'll never be the same.
So did it help the story? I think it helped the narrative of the medium. I don't know that it helped the story. So anyway, what are your thoughts? I see your wheels turning from all the
I
way
have a
over
lot.
here.
So I think there was a lot of things that were different. And again, I understand that things have to be different because, like you're saying, the medium is different. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have internal dialogue, you don't have hours and hours of backstory. I actually think this adaptation should have been a TV series, a
Miniseries.
limited TV series. Actually, it could have been more because they could totally do book 2.
Sure.
But you don't have that when you have a 2-hour film. So you have to cut things, you have to make changes, you have to give different representation of things for your watcher. But I think a few things that like I just wrote down was like Cece's role was different and
Oh,
she actually
yeah.
played a role later on.
That's
Enzo's
right.
role was like basically non-existent.
Non-existent.
And honestly, I think he could have not even been in the film. That's
Yeah.
how like insignificant he was, except he was nice to look at. Millie writing in the journal, didn't like it. I'll talk about why. Nina writing the note to Cece, which is how we got her internal dialogue. Again, there are other ways to show
Yeah.
internal dialogue and give a narrative on film besides actually writing a letter to someone. I thought that was just like lazy,
Yeah.
super lazy writing. Oh, the stack of books, like it being Millie
yeah.
having to cut herself
Oh, yeah.
versus the
That's
stack
right.
of books.
Yeah,
I
that was
didn't
a big
actually like that at
deviation.
all. And
I
I
didn't
don't
either.
feel like Andrew would have done that because
Yeah.
Andrew was very much about appearance. We said that he wanted to have a child. He wanted to have a child with this person, and he's going to make her cut her stomach 20 times or whatever it was. I don't think so.
Yeah,
I didn't
agree.
like that at all. I also didn't like watching that at all. It was horrible.
No, we both like
I was
squirmed in
squirming.
the theater. Like,
I was
nope,
squirming.
I don't need to see that.
But one thing I don't want to say like I thought it was better or whatever, but I didn't mind at all was that the police officer in the book that's the father of Catherine and kind of doesn't question things.
Yeah.
Ends up being a sister. I like that because to me, it just highlights like women really getting that this thing happens even with extremely good looking men that like a lot of people want to turn a blind eye to, including the people on the internet right now who are saying they would ignore Andrew's red flags. I think that is sick and disgusting. And like part of this book is showing that like men and predators and abusers come in all shapes and sizes. And even really freaking hot ones. Anyway, but I thought that I liked that change. Okay, I'm going to ruin some more things for you.
Wait, let me hit mute.
So the reason I didn't like the whole down the staircase thing is because, or like her cutting herself. Also, we'd already talked about that. But like after she cuts herself, she like goes around the house and like is eating and like washing her hands and like opening cabinets. And she gets blood on like one of the stairs. She's getting her DNA every fucking place in this house. Okay. And then I think that for a police officer in the book to come in and just find this guy was suspicious, there's going to be other police officers there. And like there's DNA and blood everywhere in this house. Like that can't be ignored. I was like, oh, DNA. Oh, DNA. Everywhere. It's everywhere. Your blood is everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't
You're
think about that.
contaminating everything.
I was just like, there's no way she'd be that bouncy and that like, what'd you do? Take some Advil or something? Like, no.
I don't even remember. Oh, you're just saying.
I'm just saying like
okay,
that just didn't seem realistic based on like the pain she just inflicted upon herself.
Yep. All right. If you were adapting this story, what's one thing you'd change?
One thing?
Oh, name some things you change. What could have been better for you?
A different mechanism to deliver a better backstory and actually help me empathize and understand these characters more. Like that. I was just thrown in, and I realized, like, we talked about this right after the movies. Like, I realized that's how the book starts. The book starts, you're thrown in with Millie, interviewing interviewing at the house, but you're also getting all that extra information on what led
Yeah,
her
we hear
there,
everything
and
from
we hear
her.
everything. And you just don't get any of that, and that was
Yeah.
really disappointing. So that would be where I'd put my focus and energy. The other changes, creative, what do they call it?
Creative liberties?
Liberties, liberty. That, it was all fine, but yeah, for me, it's just really, I just felt nothing for these characters, unfortunately.
Yeah. I agree with you on the backstory. We talked about that already, actually, like right when we left the film, because that was the hardest thing for me. And it
Yeah.
just didn't set it up right to connect with the characters and to understand what they're going through. And instead, you have these forced scenes because there is no internal monologue. Like, so you have to explain it to the viewer. So it felt like these points in the book that are just forced on screen where I realize there is time constraint. And again, I think this would have been much better for TV, but I think instead of opening up right where the book opens up, you could have opened up with like her leaving prison
Prison.
and then like had some scenes where she's the scene where she's visiting a parole officer, where she loses the job, a scene maybe like where it actually shows why she lost the job instead of
Mhm.
this like rage filled random scene later on. I didn't like that at all. I will say that I don't think the script did Sydney Sweeney any favors of making her seem like, I don't wanna say sinister is not the right word because that's how I would describe Andrew, but, like, this dangerous,
Damaged.
yeah, dangerous, maybe dangerous isn't the right word either, but, like, dark past individual. Like, it
She has a
still
dark passenger.
no. It still felt like that was forced, where I felt like if we could have seen her in those moments actually, like, defending a coworker or whatever, that would have been way better. And I actually don't think I don't like the letter that Nina wrote to Cece. I didn't hate the journal, but the journal needs to start much sooner
Yeah.
in the way it's presented and not just like these one or two random slots. Like,
Agreed.
I didn't
I
like
think the
that at
journal
all.
was a good mechanism,
Yeah.
or it could have been a good mechanism. It just wasn't utilized enough, or like
It
in
needed
the
to
right
be
way.
like, oh, this is she writes in a journal frequently and
Yeah.
like all those things.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any final thoughts about this book? Would you recommend the book and or the film to our listeners?
I think both. I think, like what you've said before, if you haven't read a Frida book before, this is a great one to start with. I I think I would recommend to go see the movie.
There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of people who like it. So maybe
Yeah,
we're the crazy
and
ones.
we probably are. And yeah, just going to the movie knowing that it's not a one for, well, maybe the
Just
problem is
go in
that
the
it is too
movie
much.
knowing
Just
you're
go to the
going to be
movie and
disappointed.
ouch.
Just kidding.
Yeah. So I don't know that I gave a ton of final thoughts, but I would say I wouldn't tell someone to not go see the movie. Um,
Yeah.
but I
I
definitely
wouldn't
tell
tell
someone to
someone,
read the
yeah,
book.
I actually wouldn't tell someone to not see the movie either. I would absolutely recommend the book. Again, it's my favorite Frida book. I think if you like this one, you can definitely read the second one in the series. If you're adventurous, read the third one. I have recommended this book a lot, actually. And the film, yeah, I would not recommend it, but
It's a
not.
C.
I'm probably not going to rewatch it.
Yeah. I'd rate it a C plus
It's just it was disappointing for
because of how
me
good the book
because
was.
of the book.
Yeah.
But again, I cannot look at it through the lens of having not read the book. So I
Right.
cannot rate it as a film.
Yep.
Well, those are our final thoughts. And with that, we wanted to remind everyone that the next two books in our lineup are Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption by Stephen King and People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. And as always, don't forget that a free way to support our show is by leaving us a review and rating us on Apple Podcasts. If you don't want to rate us, but you have a question or feedback on the show, you can email us at booksimake@gmail.com, and we would love to hear from you.
We would. And hey, if you like the show, tell a friend. I'm sure you've got some book buddies hanging around. You could be like, hey, have you heard about this podcast? You should
These
check it
people
out.
are crazy.
Crazy, mildly entertaining, but you should check it
Our
out.
moms think we're funny.
We think we're funny.
I do think we're funny.
Anyway.
All right, I guess that's it.
It's another one in the books, the first one of the season.
Yep. Well, who knows? Maybe this will be the one your husband reads.
And hopefully he's not sadistic.
Not. Run. Combs. Blink twice if you're in danger.
Bye.
See ya.